Julius Caesar is a tragedy written by William Shakespeare in 1599. Although he based the story on the true account of Caesar's murder, it is believed that Shakespeare wrote the play with the intention of safely commenting on the fraught political situation in England at the time, when many believed a civil war to be imminent. Although Julius Caesar is the play's titular character, Shakespeare chose to focus the action on Marcus Brutus, an idealistic statesman who reluctantly joins the conspiracy against Caesar. Julius Caesar opens with a scene of class conflict, the plebeians versus the tribunes. The plebeians are celebrating Caesar's victory over the sons of Pompey, one of the former leaders of Rome. The tribunes verbally attack the masses for their fickleness in celebrating the defeat of a man who was once their leader. Soon, Caesar enters Rome, accompanied by his supporters. A soothsayer approaches and warns him to beware the Ides of March. But Caesar dismisses the man, confiding instead in his friend Mark Antony, a Roman general. Caesar worries that another statesman, Caius Cassius, might be a danger to him, but Antony tells Caesar not to worry. Caesar's suspicions, however, are correct. Believing Caesar to be a tyrant, Cassius is planning a conspiracy to kill him and endeavors to convince Marcus Brutus, an idealistic colleague, to join. Brutus is reluctant, saying that he cannot commit to the plot so hastily. Brutus and Cassius's discussion is interrupted by 3 cheers. Later, Cassius learns from another official, Casca, that Antony attempted to crown Caesar 3 times, but that Caesar declined, prompting the crowd to cheer. Caesar, however, was disappointed to see the crowd cheering, as he secretly hoped they would insist that he accept the crown. Hell-bent on convincing Brutus to join the conspiracy, Cassius recruits Cinna, another conspirator, to plant a series of letters in Brutus's home. Forged by Cassius, these letters will appear to be sent from concerned citizens of Rome who believe Caesar is mad with power. Cassius's plan works. Brutus interprets the letters as a plea from Rome itself to take Caesar down and joins the conspiracy. Still, Brutus's wife, Portia, notices her husband seems troubled and begs him to confide in her, which he does. The next morning, Caesar's wife, Calpurnia, tells her husband that she dreamt of a statue in his image, bleeding from 1,000 wounds. Worried that the dream means he shouldn't go to the Senate that day, Caesar consults a priest who slaughters an animal to read Caesar's fortune in the entrails. They find that the animal has no heart, a very bad sign. But Caesar ultimately concludes that it is foolish to let a dream stop him from going to work, and Cassius and Brutus arrive to escort him there. On the way to the Senate, Caesar is approached by the same soothsayer, who warns him once again. Disregarding the man, Caesar arrives at the Senate and is surprised when the conspirators begin to gather around him. Together, they stab him, with Brutus going last. Betrayed, Caesar utters one last phrase, "Et tu, Brute?" or "You too, Brutus?" before dying. The conspirators remain at the scene of the murder in an attempt to convince the gathering crowd that they have killed Caesar for the good of Rome. Brutus delivers a convincing and rational speech to this effect, but Mark Antony follows by delivering an impassioned eulogy. His speech culminates in the reading of Caesar's will, in which he left each citizen of Rome a small share of money, challenging Brutus's narrative of Caesar as an ambitious despot. Enraged on behalf of Caesar, the crowd drives Cassius, Brutus, and the conspirators out of Rome. Exiled to Sardis, Brutus and Cassius are initially at each other's throats, but they reconcile in order to prepare for the civil war they will fight against Antony and Octavius, Caesar's adopted son. Together, they agree to attack Philippi, where Antony and Octavius are stationed. But that night, Brutus sees the ghost of Caesar, who promises he'll be on the battlefield at Philippi as well. During the battle at Philippi, Brutus separates from Cassius, who soon begins losing to Antony's forces. Cassius mistakenly hears that his friend Titinius has died. Racked with grief, he orders his servant, Pindarus, to stab him with the sword Cassius used to assassinate Caesar. Brutus interprets this as an act of revenge by Caesar's ghost. On the brink of defeat, Brutus too takes his own life. Antony and Octavius claim victory and, despite their differences, hail Brutus as the most noble Roman of them all, as he was the only one to kill Caesar for the good of Rome.